Hey, somebody needs to raise the bar. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, the variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV will just blow your mind. The Hustler turf equipment, the entire line of Echo power tools, and of course Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs. They have the big Polaris side-by-sides and the bigger Ranger Crew. They're the fast Polarises. It's unbelievable. And you have to see the showroom. The taxidermy, the antique displays, and an indoor porch with a porch swing, beautiful, comfortable chairs, a big television, free coffee. You need to stop in and meet Shannon and Lisa Tucker. They are awesome people. They treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on The Professional Noticer. We love it when somebody comes to the table with both. And today, we not only have that, we have one of my favorite people. I have been trying to get this guy on a podcast for maybe 3 years, and we finally got him here. If you have any knowledge of Southern gospel music or Christian music, you will have heard this guy. You know who this, because this is the king. Gene McDonald. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. How are you doing?
Man, I am thrilled you're here.
I'm humbled that you'd let me in the door.
Well, shoot. I'm so glad you're here. I've got a whole day planned for you of stuff I want to record.
Yeah. I'm here.
Yeah. If you guys don't know Gene, he is the bass singer that everybody loves, that everybody knows. Everybody loves Gene, period. But they love your voice. And, man, where did that come from?
Well, my grandfather could talk lower than I can sing. So, I mean, he couldn't hold a tune. He could sing lead, and that was it. But it was 2 octaves down. So, it was, bring it in the sea, bring it in.
Really?
Yes, sir. And so he could talk lower than I could ever thought about singing. So
good grief. And so you credit your granddaddy.
Yeah, and family, I mean, my family, we sang and so, but Grandpa was the deep voice of the song.
So it skipped a generation.
Yeah, apparently so.
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Austin, our oldest son.
Yes.
And Austin is singing. And we're like, where did this come from? Right?
Right.
But both my parents were music majors. And so
really?
That has skipped a generation. And so it's bizarre.
But he enjoyed
he's like singing around places, playing guitar and singing. Like,
that's cool.
Making money.
That's good. So, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
man. If you're going to do it, make money.
Yeah. So how did, now you threw me a curve
Right.
You threw me a curve before we started because I had all my questions, all the things that I wanted to let everybody know about and ask you questions. But you threw me a curve because as we're sitting here before we started,
Right.
you said, I used to sing tenor. Now, I got to tell you, this is a guy, and we'll get to this, okay? But this is a guy, have you ever looked at these superstar groups and wonder, well, what happens if one of them gets sick? What happens if, with the Oak Ridge Boys, like what happens if one of them is sick? What happens if one of them's hurt? Well, with the Oak Ridge Boys, Richard Sturban, Papa Mau Mau. Well, Richard had to have surgery on his knee, and he could not tour. They called Gene. Gene, you were.
I sang for their 40th anniversary, started of their 40th anniversary tour, the first 6 shows of it. So.
And you know how I knew that you were doing that? Because I saw a picture of you four.
Right.
And you're with President and Mrs. Bush,
Barbara.
the first. Yeah. President
41.
Barbara Bush.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Gene. And I called you and I said, what's going on? She said, well, Richard got surgery,
Yeah.
But
Yes,
that is pretty amazing that, you obviously filled those shoes. And then they didn't want Richard back.
You're right.
Yeah.
I wish.
Oh my gosh. But see, here is the curveball you threw me.
Right.
We're sitting here before going, and I'm saying something about your voice, and you said, well, I used to sing tenor. and I'm thinking, okay, just kind of like, lead tenor, And then you played me this thing. That is not you. That is no way that's you, because that's this way high thing. So how did that happen?
Well,
and how did you turn into this unbelievable bass?
I started singing with Mom and Dad in 1968. We had a family group, me and my mom and dad and sister, the McDonald family, when we were from Southeast Missouri. And drew a 200-mile radius circle around the house, and we sang in that circle for years. And I was still, in 1982, I was singing tenor. My sister had gone to college, and so we disbanded the family group, and I started singing for a guy by the name of Jack Campbell. And so I was 5'8", I went to choir camps and all that kind of stuff. All I wanted to do was sing tenor in a quartet.
You were 5'8"?
5'8". And
you were an adult.
And I was 15, 16. And
how tall are you now?
6'2.5", 3.
Okay, all right.
And so I quit singing with him on May the 27th of 1982. And by September of 1982, I was almost 6'2" and had a size 13 shoe, and all this was growing during the World's Fair, You
went from 5'8" to 6'2" in a year?
In about 3 months, actually. My mom.
I bet that would have been. They could have seen you growing. Yeah. Watch him. Let's see. Sleep. Watch Gina sleep. We can watch him grow.
So my mom would safety pin my pants because I was growing so fast that she couldn't keep buying pants. So she bought long pants that were too long, and then she would roll them down as I was growing, believe it or not. So. But
and so did your vocal cords stretch then too?
Instantly. My sister was a summer missionary in West Virginia, and so we had a Datsun 210 station wagon. And so we went to go see her because she was in West Virginia as a summer missionary for the Southern Baptist Convention. And here I was laying across the back seat because I couldn't sit. And so I walked, she hadn't seen me since May, and I walked up to her and she didn't know who I was because I'd grown so much in that amount of time. So,
does Bill Gaither know this story?
Well, I don't know if he does or not.
I'm going to make sure he knows the story this afternoon.
It's funny.
That is unbelievable.
And so then my voice started changing, and I thought that my life was over as a gospel musician, as a singer, because everybody had me a job lined up whenever I graduated high school, and then my voice changed, and nobody made a phone call anymore. And so
But
I really thought that
you thought it was over?
And then I went to college for trying to get an opera degree, and
Trying to get what?
A teaching degree, an opera degree. I wanted to sing opera, so I did a little bit of that, and
this is freaking me out.
I didn't graduate. All I liked was student teaching, and I didn't want to teach, and so I left school and went to the Stamps Baxter School of Music in Nashville, and Ben Spear heard me and said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "My father always told me that if I wanted to sing gospel music, that I needed to come to this singing school. And I'm here for you to help me find a job." And that's how it all transpired.
Mr. Ben helped you do that.
Ben Spear. And that was in 1988, and I sang with the Plainsmen till 92, and then I started on the Gaither videos in 94.
When were you with the Florida Boys?
98 to 2007. So lived in Pensacola and Les, Glenn, and Daryl, and sang with them for 10 years.
And so when did you start on the Gaither homecoming videos?
In 94. Ben, I was, so during the interim of working with the Plainsmen and singing with the Florida Boys, I had to drive buses. And so I was out on tour with New Kids on the Block, driving a bus, and we were driving through St. Louis and heading to Boston to drop them off. And then I had a couple of days off because Corinth, Mississippi, Senators Coaches is who I drove for, and they were in Corinth, Mississippi at that time. And so you had to go through Nashville to get there. So I called Ben and I said, "Hey, you want to go to lunch? I'm coming through. Got a couple of days off. Get a hotel and we'll go to lunch and shoot the bull." And he said, "Well, what are you doing on such and such a date?" And I said, "Well, I'm just coming through." And he said, "Well, I need somebody to sing a session because Brock, his brother, was having to leave early with the Spear family to go out on tour." I said, "Yeah, I could probably do that." I said, "Who's it for?" And he said, "Bill Gaither." And so I was like wired for sound and ready to go, and went. And
so you left the New Kids. You said, "You stay on this block."
Yeah, took them home, dropped them off with their mamas, and drove like a wild man from Boston to Nashville, and walked in and started singing. And that's how it all started. May the 6th of 1994.
May 6th, 1994. And Bill, he loves you.
Well, I hope so.
I mean, you know, golly,
he's a hero, that's for sure.
You and the vocal band, y'all are like the only constant. I mean, you know, the other people, everybody kind of comes and goes according to what's going on, but he always has the vocal band, and he always has you.
That's good. I always like that.
Yeah. Well, it has been awesome getting to know you, but to watch you too. I've got a video, and I'm gonna have Matt put it in like right here, okay? But before we put it in, I want to tell you what it was and tell everybody what it was. One of the greatest things in my life is to be able to be backstage with you guys and just, you know, and to be sitting up there with y'all when somebody else is singing, and be sitting there in the group and listening to you guys, talking with you and laughing while somebody else is doing something. And so we were on a cruise, and Lady Charlotte Ritchie and Becky Isaacs were down in the hallway, and you were sitting in a chair, and Lady came up and said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing tonight, and so let's do Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy." And Charlotte and Becky said, "Oh, yeah, I've never done that." And so lady says, "Well, I've got the music. Here, I've got the music." And so she gets the music out, and they have never sung it before.
Right.
And sung together before. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And so lady goes, 1, 2, 3. And then they're doing, and I'm videoing it. And they're doing it. And I go down to you, and you're sitting there going, boom, 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 boom. And every now and then I get that out, and I watch it, and I think, this is unbelievable that somebody is talented enough to just 4 people just sit there and do that and sound that good. So watch this.
You don't want to. That's fine. You don't have to. He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie sound that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy at Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he could not jam. The captain seemed to understand, because the next thing the cap went out and drafted the band. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy at Company B. He was some boogie woogie bugle boy at Company B. When he plays the boogie woogie bugle, he was busy as a busy bee. And the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy at Company B. A root, a toot, a tootly-eyed toot, he blows A to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the basic guitar is playing with him. And the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy at Company B. Okay, that's just, so what do you remember about that? Or I guess that happens to you all the time.
Well, I think I'm always the one that interjects myself into it, thinking that it needs a 4th part, So I'm always the one that tries to find the bass line so everybody can know where they're at in their parts.
Well, I see a lot of times when that homecoming stuff is going, I'll see, because it's very curious to see you guys in there that have the microphones, and while somebody's out front, you're quietly singing backup. Mm-hmm. And so there have been so many times that I've seen Bill look back at you and give you a nod and watched your mic go up. And it is just...
Well, I really do. That was something that I take pride in, is that you don't have to be noticed to be heard, and you can be an embellisher or what would you say? Just a helper.
It's an accent.
Yeah.
You're accenting that piece,
So, I love, I'm a cheerleader at heart. So, I love helping others and pushing them forward so they can see,
Now you have albums of your own that I know that the Reflections album is on iTunes right now.
Right. I've got 5 records on iTunes right now.
Okay.
And so,
man, and those are just awesome. The Reflections album has Stand By Me and This Old House,
Holy Ground, and
Holy Ground, Wayfaring Stranger. Yeah, those are just killer. And then you've got another one that's coming called Still Sounds Right.
Right. Yeah.
That's coming.
After 30 years, Still Sounds Right.
Still Sounds Right.
And so Ben Spear, back when I was singing with the Plainsman Quartet, starving to death, he helped me put a record together. And so it was during the transition of cassettes to CDs.
Oh, wow.
And so I couldn't afford to get an LP because they were starting to fade them out, and I couldn't afford a CD because they were too expensive. So he helped me make 500 cassettes, and I found one like 3 months ago. It's still in the cellophane and the whole 9 yards, and I sent it to a publisher, and they remastered it, and so it's about out. It should be on iTunes probably in the next month or so.
Oh, man,
And
that is
so-
going to be great. And you're working on a hymns project.
Working on a hymns project with Matthew Holt and Kevin Williams and doing some stuff there, trying to get that out. Hopefully it'll be out by November. So,
Wow. So what hymns are on it?
well, you have asked the wonderful question. It's
I haven't decided yet.
yeah, and we're still working on them, but Softly and Tenderly, Lead Me Gently Home, just a bunch. So
Man.
my memory doesn't go that far back.
Yeah, I know. Mine barely stretches a week. How did the Oak Ridge Boys thing come about? I mean, I know Richard had surgery on his knee.
He did.
Achilles or something.
He had Achilles he had tore an Achilles, and I live in Gallatin, which is probably about 15 miles from Hendersonville. And back when I was a kid, it all goes back to childhood. My family sang, and
Yeah, they didn't call you because you were their neighbor. Gene.
no,
I mean,
no.
they didn't call. Yeah, hey, well, Richard's down. There's a guy that lives just 15 minutes from
Yeah.
here. Let's just get him. Come on now.
Well, so I've always been a huge fan. And so I was singing with the Florida Boys, and we did Stand By Me, and we kind of got reacquainted on the Gaither, from the Gaither videos.
Right.
And so every once in a while, I would see Dwayne or would see William Lee and go drink a cup of coffee. I'm supposed to go drink a cup of coffee with William Lee next week because he's mad at me. So,
What's he mad at you about?
because I hadn't talked to him in about a month. And so,
I got to tell you a story about William Lee in just a minute. Go
so
ahead.
anyway, so that's exactly how it happened was they called Bill to see if I was out on tour. We were going to be out on tour, and we weren't. And so they got the okay to call me, and they called me, and we went out and had a ball.
Did you already know the songs? Or
We rehearsed probably a day on the songs.
one day of rehearsal, then you go out with the Oak Ridge Boys.
And so-
Oh, my God.
So I'm a fan, and so just filled in,
So what was the first time? How did you feel first time you did the Hoop Hop and Mau Mau?
Well, it was in front of President Bush.
Was the first
It
time?
was the first time. I mean, as far as besides rehearsal, we walked he had just gotten out of the hospital, and we went to their house and sat with him and Miss Barbara and I got to sing for him, and it was just cool, the man, the myth, and the legend.
Did you do any of the solos that Richard did?
I did not, for the most part.
Did y'all do Dream On?
No.
Lay your head down on my shoulder.
No. No, but I did Elvira, and they had just released a new record, so that was my big thing, was trying to learn the bass parts for all that.
Yeah, the new stuff. Okay, so he did Elvira and Bobby Sue. And,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. When you see William Lee next week, one time, my boys, when they were little, okay,
Right.
this in Austin was probably 7 or 8. Okay, so Adam would have been 5 or 6. And, Austin was always kind of like Alex Keaton on, this little conservative suit wearing.
Right.
We've always said Austin's been 40 ever since he was 6,
Exactly.
And so we were pulling into our neighborhood, and, we're across the street from the beach. And so we're pulling in our neighborhood one time, and the boys in the back seat. And as we turn off the beach road left in the neighborhood, I look, and up the road, walking down the road, there's a couple of guys, and one of them, and they're 100 yards away, but one of them was quite obviously William Lee.
Right.
I mean, this big 6'5" Willie Booger with a beard about that. I mean, he was Duck Dynasty before those guys ever thought about beards.
Exactly.
And so when I saw him, I said, well, I got to say hi to him. And so I just stopped the car. I kind of pulled it off the side, and I stopped where they were going to walk into the car. Right. And so I said to the guys, I said, hey, look, coming here. Well, they didn't know who he was. Right. And so Austin starts, as they get closer, they go, oh my gosh. I didn't say anything. And Austin said, Dad, why are you stopping here? And I said, well, look at this guy coming at us. And Austin said, Dad, you need to move. Dad, don't do this. Don't do this. I mean, he's panicking. Right. It's like we got this wild man coming right at us.
Exactly.
And he is about to freak. And then they get probably 10 yards away, and I can see now Golden's kind of like, it's like somebody's blocking the walkways. Oh my gosh, some fan is gonna, and so I can see him starting to pause. And so I rolled down the window, and I went, William Lee? He goes, oh my gosh, And of course the boys are like, and so he leans in. Of course, that hair and that beard filled thing. He's trying to hug me across the passenger seat. Right. And the boys are, And so we had to go home and call them up on YouTube for the boys to see who that was.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Sheesh. So what do you have coming up?
Well, we're starting Gaither tour, be starting in August, and then we've got just doing that, and then we have the cruise in November, and doing that, and then doing solo stuff, doing solo concerts here and there, trying to do some solo stuff. And
Polly and the boys and I are going to be on the cruise.
My boys, one of my boys is going to be on it too.
Awesome. I'm not doing anything.
Really?
I called Bill and I said, I'm coming on this cruise. He said, Andy, we're already full. I said, no. I'm just saying, I'm coming on the cruise. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, that's cool. You've already been on like 5 of them. Exactly. I said, yeah, I know. And I like them. And so I'm coming on the cruise. So we're actually going to come and just hang out with y'all.
Well, that'd be good. We need to get together and do our men's breakfast.
Yeah. Me, you, Wes, and Kevin, and Jimmy. I don't know if Jimmy will be there, but we'll definitely.
That'd be good. That'd be a good thing.
We'll definitely do that.
Have a family reunion.
Oh, man, we're going to put the connections to how people can get in touch with you, how people can follow you. I want to just urge you guys, go to iTunes, go to Gene's site, and but get these albums, get these collections. These are just unbelievable. And I think as we kind of before we go out, I think let's pick a song and let's play it for everybody on this podcast.
This old house once knew my children. This old house once knew my wife. This old house was home and comfort as we fought the storms of life. This old house once rang with laughter. This old house heard many shouts. Now she trembles in the darkness when the lightning walks about. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix a shingle. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges nor to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints. This old and shaky. This old house is a getting old. This old house lets in the rain, and this old house lets in the cold. On my knees I'm a getting chilly, but I feel no fear nor pain, 'cause I see an angel peeking through a broken window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingle. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to roll the hinges nor to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a getting ready to meet the saint. Well, my old hound dog lies asleeping. He don't know I'm gonna leave. Else he'd wake up by the fireplace and he'd sit there and howl and grieve. But my hunting days are over. Ain't gonna hunt for coon no more. Gabriel done brought in the chariot when the wind blew down the door. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to hold the hinges nor to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saint.
Thank you so much for being here.
Man, I'm humbled that you let me be here. It's wonderful being here, and it's great seeing you. And thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I am harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Till next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Low notes for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by Big and Tall Clothes for Little People. Are you, or is someone you know, a little person? Sometimes it's just tough to find nice little person clothing that fits as well as it should. Stop the anguish. It's time to let Big and Tall Clothes for Little People step in and help. It's a well-known fact that some little people are bigger than others. Just because you're little doesn't mean one size fits all. Certainly not if you are a big little person. If that's the case, if you are a big little person, come in and shop the extra large small section for clothes that are just right for you. And remember, while it may be a small world after all, you don't have to dress that way. Big and Tall Clothes for Little People. Come in today. We're located on the Yellow Brick Road, right at the edge of the Lollipop Forest.